When people think about divorce, they think about lawyers, paperwork, court dates, who gets the house, who gets what. But nobody warned me that divorce would show up everywhere. It showed up in my sleep. It showed up in my confidence. It showed up in my body. It showed up in the quiet moments when nobody else was around. And here's something else nobody talks about enough. Even if you're the one asking for the divorce, it still hurts. You can know it's the right decision and still grieve it. You can know the marriage is over and still cry. You can want the divorce and still mourn the future you thought you were going to have. Because sometimes you're not grieving the marriage, you're grieving the dream, the life that you thought you'd have, the growing old together, the retirement plans, the family traditions, the future version of yourself you spent years imagining. And when the future disappears, it leaves a hole. I remember thinking that once the decision was made, I'd feel relief. And I did, but relief and grief can exist at the same time. Nobody prepared me for that. Nobody prepared me for how the divorce would show up in my body. The anxiety, the exhaustion, the racing thoughts at 2 a.m, the constant replaying of conversations, the second guessing, the what ifs. Did I try hard enough? Could I have done more? What if I'm making a mistake? Even when you know something's right, it doesn't mean it's easy. And then there was the loneliness. Not the loneliness people expect. Not being physically alone. The loneliness of realizing that one person who used to know everything about your life no longer does. The loneliness of wanting to share something and remembering there's no longer a place for that conversation. The loneliness of rebuilding routines that used to include someone else. And divorce showed up in places I never expected, walking into social events, holidays, family gatherings, even the grocery store. Little reminders everywhere of a life that used to be. And perhaps the hardest part was realizing that divorce doesn't happen all at once. It's not one event, it's thousands of little endings. The end of routines, the end of assumptions, the end of traditions, the end of the future you thought you were going to move forward. And every one of those endings deserves to be acknowledged. Looking back, there were a few things that really helped me. Not because they fixed everything, nothing really fixes everything, because they helped me carry forward or carry on or move forward. For me, it was talk therapy, having a place where I could say the things I really didn't want to burden everyone else with and really didn't want to share with everyone. It was yoga, not because I was trying to be flexible, but because for 1 hour I could just stop living in my head and come back into my body. It was meditation, learning how to sit with uncomfortable emotions instead of running from them. It was walking, sometimes long walks where I wasn't trying to solve anything, just putting one foot in front of the other. And most importantly, it was giving myself permission to grieve. Not just the marriage, but everything else that came with it. Because healing doesn't begin when the divorce is final. Healing begins when you stop judging yourself for hurting. If you're going through a divorce right now or even thinking about one, I really want you to hear this. Whatever you're feeling is probably more normal than you think. Confused, sad, relieved, angry, hopeful, heartbroken. Sometimes it can be all in the same day. That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you're human. And if this resonated with you, comment the word healing below. I'd love to know the part of the journey that's been the hardest for you. And if you're struggling with the question of whether you're staying because of love or because of fear, watch the next video on the 7 signs you're staying for the wrong reasons. Thanks so much for being here. Hugs to you. You're going to be okay. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.